Okay, so in this recording, what I'm going to be doing is just trying to install the users into the Exchange server that I'd installed in the previous recording. And so if you want to get the files that I use, basically what you'd have to do is go to, just basically go to my website. And then once on there, if you click on applications used, and if you get here after I've added some more, then this will sort of just be a little bit further down. So then if you basically just click on it, and just ignore that. And basically here's the file. So if you just download that. Right, so once that's downloaded, it'll have some files in it. And so basically what you want to do is just drag that to the desktop. And you don't really need that anymore. So essentially the files that are in here, so that's the CSV file, and so the organizational units, this is just related to basically you have to add them so that you don't get errors in the, so you don't get errors when you're trying to run the actual import. So what you have to do is you have to go into, I don't think that's what I want. So I want Active Directory users, users and computers. And so basically under, I think if I remember correctly, you have to add them here. So if you open the organizational units text file, and basically just make sure that this is if you're going to want to use this particular file. So you just create each one, because then the users will end up inside. Yes, you want you want this, the sort of little folder icon, and you have to make sure it's in the top level. Because one time I made the mistake of putting it in users, and of course if you run the script it doesn't work because the name of the organizational unit has to include the path. So remember, it's a little folder you're creating, and not. Oh, you see, that's what I do. So same thing I was talking about is what happened. You have to. And the thing is, it's a bit annoying to. Right, and so the problem we have here is that, see, if you try and delete it now, of course, it will just give you an error. So what they've done is clever. So basically, to delete it, you actually have to turn on advanced features, and then when you right click on the actual the organizational unit, now you actually get more options in here. And when you go to objects, you can actually, that's where you can finally access the tick. So as you can see, they've gone to a lot of trouble to make it difficult for because they know that Windows admins aren't so hot, and you can imagine someone with a mouse, it can slip. And so of course Microsoft had to make sure that they had to help those Windows admins who are obviously not used to sort of doing things too difficult, so they have to make things like better for them. So yeah, so basically what you do is you keep on making sure that it's the top domain that's selected. And so you just add the next one. Right, so that's all the organization units creating. Alright, so we don't need that text file. So the next thing is the actual command. So what we do is you need the PowerShell, and here's where you have to make sure you find the right one. Because you see it's got Windows PowerShell there, but you actually need the Exchange Management Shell. So for whatever reason they've decided that, you know, they have to have two different ones. And it's still PowerShell, but then what they're saying is that somehow it's, you know, superior. Alright, so just gotta wait for it to load. Okay. So now I'm just going to change to where the script is. Alright, so we can see the we can see the PS1 file, and I mean all it is just it's just like a single command. Well, no, sorry, it's a series of commands that just runs in a loop and reads the CSV filing. So basically, if you open the next one, which is this text file, which is the export CSV, it will have the command in it. So just double click on, oh no, sorry, that's not it. Basically, what you have to do is, it's essentially just run and because it's Windows, you have to make sure to do a backslash. I think it's dot, which is a bit weird. So it's dot backslash, and then you run the PS1 file, and then you just give it the 500 users as input. And so then just run that. So it takes a little bit of time to connect to the Exchange. And you just sit and wait. And the reason why it's only 500 users, because I didn't really expect Microsoft to speed up the import process. Because I mean, the amount of money they're making, the main thing they're concerned about is just making more money, not in actually speeding up their software. Because we know Microsoft is famous for slow software. And this importing of users is you know, well, it's just same as before basically. And one thing though I've noticed is the previous one used to have a limit on the username of 20 characters. But it's interesting that I see some long ones going up there and it's not giving an error anymore. So maybe Microsoft will fix that. So now people from Sri Lanka can actually use Exchange Server and put their names in. Because that 20 character limit, I could imagine Sri Lankan people, they would have thought that was the stupidest thing ever. Because then all their names would just, well, most of their names would just be cut off. And I think Sri Lanka would have a problem, and then to a certain extent Spain as well, because they have to have the surname, the name of the mother and father, I think something like that. So the Spanish wouldn't have liked that 20 character limit, and neither would the Sri Lankans. So maybe Microsoft looks like this latest version of Exchange, they finally decided to fix that. So as you can see, this is just 500 names, and look how slow it's going in. And like, I've got an old video as well of where I've done it with iRedMail. Oh no, what is it? Oh, it's still 20. Okay. Alright, so looks like the Sri Lankans and some Spanish people will still not be happy with the exchange. Right, so anyway, that's the file importing, and so the last file I've got is just for testing purposes, really. So it's just a way to export it's just a command to actually export the users as a CSV, because the reason for this is that obviously I could just use it straight from the CSV, but I prefer to export it, because obviously what happened is some of the users wouldn't, if their name is too long, they won't actually end up in the directory. So of course you only want the ones that actually made it. Alright, so what this is going to do is it's going to export the SMTP names in a reasonable format to a file on the desktop, so that I can then use it in the next part. And as you'll see, or as you can see, I should say, the export itself is quite, well, it's a little bit faster. So, right, so what I'm going to do now is so this is the CSV file. So now I'm just going to export that. Sorry, well, not export, but just copy it to, copy it out. So where I can access it. So now just start a show. Right, so then that's where the last command comes in. This is just for in case you want to use postal. This, if you're using a Unix machine, because it's just a good program for checking. Just to check that your SMTP is working, because basically, once your SMTP works, that's basically it. You know that it's going to do the job, and that you haven't missed out any stupid things in the setup, your SMTP isn't listening or can't send the mails to your users, etc. Alright, so just run that. So what that will do now is okay, it doesn't seem to be reading the email addresses, so let me just see if not sure if it's the quotes that's doing it. I'll just see if that's the case. Let's get rid of this extra one as well. Just try it again. Okay, so yeah, it looks like it was the quotes. Because now you can see the emails are definitely coming in because good old Exchange is under pressure. And so that's really it. So once you've done you set everything up, and then you've done the actual, you run like something which can send a load of messages in. And then as soon as you see the CPU going up like this, and you know the mails are coming in, and that's it. Basically, your Exchange server is set up. Emails can come in, and it's going to do the job, basically. Obviously, I'm not going to check the outgoing mail, because then I'd have to set up a load of sort of DNS, etc., and I don't know, MX records and whatever, and that's just too much hassle. But that obviously should work, because the incoming works. Because sometimes you will find that incoming can actually be harder to work out than outgoing. And so just gonna, yeah, so we can see the emails are going in there now. So what you can also do, just to be sure that it is actually working, is that if you go into the actual, so we don't need this anymore. Right, so if you go into the sort of CSV file, you'll be able to see that, see, what I've used is just like username and then just password 1. So if you want to check to see if any of the logins are working, you basically just go into the browser, and then it's basically the host name of the server with just OWA afterwards. And so then all you need is just the domain, and then the name, just the name of one of the users, basically. So just choose any user. And then just put the password in. And just sign in. So it's going to be a bit slow, because obviously when Exchange is under pressure, everything slows down. Because that's another thing Microsoft seems to have a problem with, is that they don't seem to know how to do scheduling properly. So the minute a little bit of load comes from anywhere, everything else just goes slow. So I think they don't quite understand how to do caching, and how to stop the threads from overwhelming the system. Because there are ways you can do it on other OSs where you can actually tune the scheduler, but it looks as if Microsoft, they only tune the scheduler. They don't expect users to actually be on the server. And so as you can see, this user's actually got a couple of emails in, even though those emails are a complete mess. But what that shows you is that it basically works, and they can accept emails, and and that's it. So basically, that's the Exchange server setup. It's got 500 users on it, and that's one other thing I'm just going to do is so we'll just log out of here. Is that if you when you go to the management shell, it's the same. Oh no, sorry, that's not one. It's not shell. Management administrative center, that's it. So it's the same web, same sort of website, but this time it's just got a little bit extra in. This is the same thing, but it's just a little bit extra in the actual sort of host name. So now this is how they expect you to go into manage Exchange through a web browser. So as you can see, there are all the users in there, and so there's all the 500 anyway. But what you'll find is that if you put a few thousand users in, it does get a bit unwieldy. But basically, so there you go. So, and you can just select any of the users and sort of go in there. And so that basically, what that does is it shows that the server is set up properly, the users are on, and that it can actually accept emails. So that's basically is how you set up Exchange server to actually have it working and to be able to deploy it, and hopefully you don't have too many users so that it slows down. Okay, see you in the next videos that I might hopefully get a chance to do. Bye.